Hello my crafty friends, it's Beverleigh here over at Crafting Chaos, and I'm here with my fourth offering in my Valentine's card repertoire, if you will. And I'm over on Open Clip Art, and I'm just showing you the sort of details that it tells you about the Open Clip Art. And you can see this information about clip arts being used for unlimited commercial use. Practically, well, I haven't found anything that it can't be used for, as each artist that actually uploads to Open Clip Art releases all rights to the image that they share, so that there's no friction or worry about breaking copyright if you use these images. So the reason I'm showing you that is because obviously I know some people like myself as well would be really worried if we thought that we were taking from someone that didn't want to share, and perhaps we had their images for sale. So when you go onto the Open Clip Art gallery, what I did was typed in heart jigsaw, and this is what, oops, no, missed the S out, sorry. And this is what came up, and this is the file that I used to create this card. So the first thing I did was downloaded it as a medium-sized image. So I'm just downloading that now. And then I went into Brother Scan and Cut Canvas and started on a new project. So I went on to File and New, and that's how I'm on the opening screens of Brother Scan and Cut Canvas. Now let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is we need to bring in the heart that we can then use and trace. So we've got to bring it in through tracing because we can't import it as it is. So you're just going to find and locate the file. So I'll just repeat that step. So click on this icon. So if we cancel this, click on the tracing clip icon in your Canvas software, locate your image, which is I put in my downloads, and I opened the image. Now as you can see, you can either have it on, trace the outer edge on it, or trace by colour. And in this case it doesn't really matter because it's a broken image and there's like little gaps in between the actual pieces of the jigsaw. They're all put together but not quite. So once you're happy that you've got it, and again it comes up automatically with this blue line, so you know you're good to go right from the off, and we're going to say OK. Now one thing that is different about this particular image is that when you bring it in, when you were on the one that's for online users, it gave you the option of whether you wanted to bring in a picture of the image or not, and you could select not. But it seems to me that in this version it doesn't give you that option. It's just saying if you go on to layers, you've got a group, and if you ungroup them and we scroll all the way to the bottom, we can see that there's the image that it brought in with the shapes, and it's locked at the moment, and that's preventing us from doing an awful lot. So I'm just going to unlock it there, and then I can click on it and delete it because I don't actually need the image, I just want what we've traced. So I'm just going to select everything for now and group, and then I'm going to resize the heart, and I'm going to make it smaller than I want it to be initially. So that's the size that I'm starting with. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto the edit function here, this second icon down, and I'm going to create an offset line outward by around 0.12 inches and say OK. Okay. Actually, before I do that, I just want to make a duplicate of that image. So you can either, oops, I think I've ungrouped. Have I ungrouped? No, we're still grouped. So I'm going to make a duplicate of that image, and you could do it by right clicking and duplicate, and I just used the shortcut that I created for myself. The next thing I'm going to do this time now is go on the edit, and I'm going to create an offset 0.12 inches outward, mount it round and leave as is and say OK. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to select everything and weld. So what I'm trying to do is create a heart that is a similar, that can be a matting layer for this heart here. Now I'm going to create another offset, again 0.12 outward and say OK. So we're going to test this one. So this is all I did, was work out what size I wanted, and I'm just going to do that once more and say OK, and I think then will be OK, and I think that's looking OK now. So I'm just going to delete the other two, and you can see that the edge has got smoother as we've created the offsets. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to I'm going to click on this one, and I'm going to line it up central and vertical. So I'm going to line the two shapes together, select them together and line them up central and middle. I'm just going to make sure, Bella, that the shape is below the group. Oops, what have I done there? Just edit, undo that. I need the shape below the group, and we're going to just ungroup for a second and see what's happened to my shape. There's my shape. For some reason it seems to have wanting to send it right down there. Right, so looking for that heart shape. So we've got it selected, and you can either do it from layers or arrange and centre back. So I want it right down at the bottom, and if we look at our layers, it's at the bottom. And if you've got a lot of layers that are interfering, it's often better to do that. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to hide that while I group everything else. So I'm just going to toggle the visibility of that shape off, and that just means it's still there, but I've just turned off it being visible so I can work on other things besides. And I'm just going to group those, and I'm going to make a duplicate, and you can do right click and duplicate. Now, so I'm just going to leave that off to the side for now. I'm going to make this shape visible again, toggle it back on, the eye, and then so we know now that the group shape here is on top of the heart. So I'm going to select both, and I'm going to go on edit and subtract. Now that has effectively punched out all of those shapes. If we just fill it with colour, you'll see what I mean. So we just put some colour into that, and you can now see that we've effectively got a heart. Whoops. That we've effectively got a heart shape that has all of those jigsaw pieces cut out. Okay, so I'm just going to bring the one off to the side back into play again, because this is the one that I used so that we could have some different coloured jigsaw pieces in parts. So I'm just going to select both, and I'm going to just make sure that I've got everything selected, because I now want to just group everything temporarily. So I'm going to right click and group, and I'm going to go to my edit icon, and I'm going to change the size to 5 point, not the XY, the size to 5.5 inches, and I'm going to keep the proportionality the same so that the height and width will change together. So now this card I know is going to be a 5.5 by 5.5 inch card. Okay, so now I'm going to right click and ungroup, and then I can move this one away, and just checking on the picture. So let's have a look in Finder and in my desktop. Let me find it. And notice now that I had a scalloped heart in my last demo, so I'm not sure whether I actually wanted it to be quite so ornate. So you could make it instead if you wish. Now you know that this one is 5.5 practically by 5.5. Whoops, keep double clicking on by accident. So I'm just going to click on that heart, and I'm going to make it exactly 5.5 inches, like so. So it's not going to be that much different. And I'm going to bring on the scallop shape. I'm just going to show you how you could do this one if you wish. If that's what is your pleasure, if you will. So I'm going to make that 5.5 and hit resize. Okay, I'm just going to close that now, and I'm going to bring this shape in front. I'm just going to send that scallop one to the back like so, and I'm going to click that one and make a duplicate so that I've still got my ones for my pieces. I'm going to line these up centrally and vertically like so, and if it just feels a little bit offset because of the shape is slightly different, you can always do it a little bit more by eye, which is what I did until I thought that it was in the middle, and I think that's fairly close to being accurately in the middle now. So you don't want it to be too, oh, going the wrong way. Yeah, I'm happy with that now. So all you would do then is repeat that step, select both, subtract, and that would punch out those shapes now. So if we now select that and fill with that one with colour, that's if you wanted the scalloped heart. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, now then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a matting layer to go behind this shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the edit option here, create an offset, and I'm going to come outward by 0.2 and say OK, and then I'm going to take it down, and I'm just going to double click to expose the nodes because there's just a couple that are annoying me because they're just a little bit higgledy-piggledy there, and they shouldn't be. I want it to be a little bit smoother. So I'm just taking that out to smooth out the node. You can choose to do that or not. If it doesn't worry you, just leave as is. But the perfectionist in me wants them gone. So I'm going to get rid of them. So now that that's a much smoother heart, I'm happy with that. And now I'm going to create an I'm going to create an offset. Do you mind? Create an offset, and this time I'm going to come inward and I'm going to make it a little bit 0.16. So now that one will fit. I might do another offset. I'm just going to do this. Just what I'm trying to do is create a mat that's slightly smaller but that's relatively smooth and will fit behind this heart. Now that fits. So now you can see that this heart will fit behind that heart. So I'd change the colour so you can see where I'm going with this. So it's like so. I'm going to send it to the back, and then you can see that that's what's going to shine through. So then what I'm going to do, and you could use it just as easily under your scalloped one as well, so that size would do for both. Okay, so the next step I did was to create the actual individual pieces. So now I'm going to go on layers and I'm going to ungroup them, and I'm just going to save the ones that are full jigsaw pieces like so. So I'm just bringing them to the side. These two, actually I'm just going to go back and choose the two that I want. that I know that go together. So I'm going to choose this one. So I'm just going to break them apart again, ungroup, and I'm going to choose this one and that one. And I'll explain what I'm going to be doing with those in a minute, but I'm just going to keep those to the side, and then I know where I'm headed with it. And then I'm going to bring out some of the other pieces, and you could choose to do this step or not. It's entirely up to you. So the ones that you feel might cut well and give you some extra dimension on your matting layer. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. So these other pieces I'm just going to delete. So you could do them all if you want, but I think some of them have got some rather irregular shapes on, and they might prove more trouble than they're worth trying to fit them in. So I'm just going to delete those. And then you could make your other pieces any colour of your choice. So you can make them all different, multicolour them, whatever you wish to do, and start and fit them into your jigsaw so they will paper piece straight in. So I just tried to pick some that were fairly spread out, so that and did some different colours. I'm going to put that one there, maybe a yellow. You can do whatever colour you want, or you could just leave it all as is. Just going to put this one back in here and give that one a colour, maybe orange. So you could play to your heart's content fitting these in where you want them to be. Now this one is what I'm going to use for the stopper for the card. Now I did save all the other pieces so that they could be used if you wanted to, for piecing other bits of the jigsaw in, if you will. But these two are what I'm going to use for the stopper. Now to make the stopper, what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to go on edit, create an offset of that scalloped oval, and I'm going to make it outward, and I'm going to do it by the smallest amount that I can, which is 0.04. Say OK. So that's made the scallop oval. It's slightly bigger than the one we've got, but then what I'm going to do to get it back to the normal size is I'm just going to go back in and say OK. So now when I delete that one, this one should be exactly the same shape and size as the one that we've already got there, and it is. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move the plainer one off to the side, and you do the same thing with that one if you wish and you wanted to create your card from that. I'm just going to move these over to the side as well, so I've got a bit of space. I'm going to bring this across, and I did make this file into a easel card, so I'm just going to group those together so that I can move them off to the side of the mat, and I've got some room to play. So now I'm going to make a duplicate of this one by either right clicking and going duplicate, or I could have used my other option. What I'm going to do now is flip that on the vertical axis, and I'm going to move this one up and this one down a little bit until they're just overlapping, like so. Now I don't need to create another mat because this completed one will be on the front of the card to account for the fact that we're going to lose some of the actual heart shape when we do our welding. But before we do the welding, we need to make sure that we centre them so that one is directly above the other, and then we're going to hit weld. Okay, now if you get this in the middle, what all I did was double click. You can double click on the shape, which will give you the nodes. You can highlight the ones in the middle by dragging an imaginary box around them. And then we'll hit minus. And minus. Delete them. Minus. And now they're gone. So I'm going to click off my mat. So now I've created the base card for my card. So now I'm going to go on the path icon, and I'm just going to hit my shift key so that when I'm happy where it is and I pull it across, I'm going to get not just shift, actually it's not that anymore, it's shift and command, I think. Shift and command. So I'm just going to get into the right position, drag it across, and when I'm happy where we're going, I'll double click to anchor. And I think that's gone a little bit weird, so we'll try it again. So just don't know why it's not quite dragging out a straight line, and just going to select it. It just seems to be working a bit strangely, does this path tool. First of all, the box doesn't seem to go where you want it to go, and I don't know if that, I'll just try zooming in a bit and see if that makes any difference. And then once I've got it there, I should be able to drag out a straight line, double click, and then I'm going to change it into, by hitting this one, a dash line, which is a perforating line, like so. I'm going to repeat that to create a score line roughly halfway up. Doesn't have to be exact, so I'm just going to choose that scallop there, drag across to this scallop here, double click to anchor, and make that one a perforating line. So now we've got the score lines on our base card that we will use to make the base card. So I'm just going to select everything and right click and group. So now I can move that base card independently. So remember, this will fold down and this one will fold, sort of mounting fold as well, and it will prop up there, and then this will come to the front. If you will, I'm trying to imagine it 3D when this is down. You'll set this part onto this part here, but on the other side, and then we're going to make the stopper for here. So I'm now just going to move that off to the side, and I'm going to select the two, and I'm going to group them initially. Whoops, select the two, just seem to be running quite slowly, and group them. And then I'm going to go on the edit icon and create an offset, and this time I want it to be outward and I need it to be bigger than that. We'll try it at this, and this is again a little bit of a trial and error. So if I go onto the layers box now, I can see it's those two that we've got there, and that's, we'll hide, not that one. Is it this? Is this the group? Not that one. It's difficult to see which group it is. Not that one, so it must be this one. And then I'm just going to weld those two together by going back to edit and weld. Okay, so now when I go back onto my layers and I make that group visible again, I've now got a matting layer. If I just give that some colour, I'm going to make it pink. And I'm going to arrange and send it to the back, and we'll close that. So then I've got my two other pieces on top, which I'm going to change to white, and that's where we're going to put our greeting. So the idea is that we would pop those two up on pop dots, and it will give us a more of a 3D sort of feel for it. So this is going to be the stopper for there. Right, the next thing we're going to work on is the greeting. So I brought on a basic shape, and I do believe it was this one that I brought on. So I'm just going to drag that shape onto the mat. I'm going to move that off to the side. So now we've got the base card, the stopper, and that sorted out. So now I'm going to just leave this one, not that one, this one, so it's easy accessible-ish. Shove that off to the side so I can measure this up against it, because I want to make it a bit less in height but wider in width, so that when I drag that over, it's a little bit too wide now, so I'm just going to shrink it back down a bit, pull it across, and I want it to be roughly maybe just slightly wider but not massively so than the actual card itself, like so, because I'm going to put it somewhere like that. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put it yet when I make the card up, but that's what I'm aiming for. So I'm going to go on edit again, create an offset, and I want it to be this time inward, and I want it to be 0.08. And now I've got that one on top where I'm going to put the greeting, and this one behind that is going to be the matting layer. And I believe on my sample I did it black, so the matting layer at the back is going to be black, and the one on top is going to be white, because that's where we're going to put the greeting. And we're going to say that the back one there is the cutting line, and this one here is also a cutting line, and I'm just going to drag a box around both of those and move it out of the way. Then I'm going to do the sentiment. So I clicked on text, I clicked on text, and I think I chose for this one August 3, and I typed I love you to pieces, like so. Said OK and clicked off. This looks like it's going to be a nice single line font, so I just shrank it down a little bit so that I can see it's going to roughly fit my shape that I want it to lie on. Then I brought the greeting onto the middle like so. Just going to select that shape and the white shape and make sure that they are central to each other. So now that greeting is in the middle of that one, but that greeting needs to be made into, try selecting it again, a drawing line, which is up here. So now I've got cut line, drawing, cut line, drawing line, like so. And the last thing that I did was actually put words on the pieces here. So I did you, you, me, like so. And then, keeps clicking off onto that by some reason. And I divided it so that I had that, and then welded it. Oh no, sorry, I didn't do it like that. Forgive me, I'll just need to do that again. I did the words separately so that I didn't have an issue with that. I just did you, and then I did me, like so, and then I shrank them both down together so that they'd be equally sort of gone a bit too small there maybe. Just drag them back up a little bit, and then all I did was position the U in one side. I'll just make it a bit bolder by increasing the point value, like so, and then I'll do the same here. Drag that down into the other one for me, and if it doesn't quite fit, we'll make it fit by shrinking it in the width, as long as we can see that it's me. Okay, so there's you and me, and again we need to make that a drawing line and that a drawing line, like so. So now the idea is, if I just sort of show you roughly on screen what it's going to look like. So this will be your base card. This will mat onto here once it's all folded up. This bit here will be the stopper that stops your card from slipping down and holds it up as the easel, if you will. That one does want to keep messing me about. I think it'll send it right to the back, and then it's not doing that because it's getting on my nerves. So we'll be there, and then we'll just drag this one on, and the idea is that this one's going to come across here as your main greeting, I love you to pieces, which is a bit of a play on the, because it's a jigsaw piece puzzle kind of thing. So now I'm going to go on display, zoom all objects to match, so I can see that I need to drag these other couple of bits of jigsaw puzzle that might be chosen to be used. And then I'm going to make sure that everything is ungrouped. So I'm just going to go on my layers palette and ungroup everything, so that when I save it, all the parts can be cut separately. Ungroup, I think that's it. So let's just check. We've not got any group. Oh, we've got a group there. We'll ungroup that. Oh no, that's the base card, so we'll want to leave that group because we don't want the score lines to move. So everything else is fine. So all what should be draw lines, the writing are draw lines, and everything else is cutting lines. So that's how I made this Valentine's card. It's actually a lot simpler than you think it's going to be. It looks very intricate and fun, but that's how we did it. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this part 4, our 4th Valentine card in my series. The last thing I'm going to do is file and export as an FCM. Okay, and we're going to call it Val4, whatever, and save it. So now I've got that saved as an FCM, I can shrink that down and I will be able to upload it to my blog at Crafting Chaos, Beverleigh's Crafting Chaos, my blog where all of my files that I create are available for free download. Right, so I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like, share and subscribe. And thank you for all the lovely comments and response that I've had with regards to the new series that I'm planning, which is going to be a floral sort of series, in the idea of showing you how to create I suppose a digital stamp in a way, and also then an overlay which you can put on to make it look like it's been watercoloured. So I've had some really good sort of feedback for that file, and that will be coming soon when I get onto them after I finish the Valentine series. I just wanted to test the water and see if there was interest out there, and clearly there is, so I will be doing that. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you all soon, and goodbye for now. Bye.